Hey, welcome back. Now that we've established strategy in depth, let's understand leadership, because leaders are the ones who essentially control strategy, not the managers and not the followers. But what is leadership? Is it definable? What does it mean to be a leader? And where are the followers in all this? When we think about leadership, a lot of people think about leadership qualities or traits. Do you need to have them to be a leader? What if you're not tall, dark, and handsome? Can you have them and not be a leader? We're going to take a look at leadership in depth, and we're going to try and examine the relationship involved in order to understand how leaders create common vision and get others to follow. So one of the major questions we have to ask is, what is the role of power in leadership? Let's start with a basic definition. According to Northouse, leadership is a process in which one individual influences a group towards a common goal or common goals. This definition is really, really important for us. It's going to define the nature of this relationship in depth, because without looking at it as process, we have a problem. See, for many years, leadership was defined based on the traits of a leader, their height, how intelligent they were, their ability to communicate well, but those make it really difficult to understand leadership. It makes it easy to say, oh, look, that person is a leader. We can look at his height or her height and the intelligence that they bring and whether they're an extrovert. These are traits that we can easily recognize and may recognize as leadership traits, but they aren't leadership. See, because leadership is about the interaction, the relationship between the leader and whoever they're following. And it's a two-way street. It doesn't just go from the leader down. What about the ideas and concepts and wants, desires, and needs of the followers? Don't they play a role in this relationship as well? To think of leadership as a process is an essential part of understanding and truly grasping the nature of leadership in depth. Because without a process, we can't examine the context within which leadership is taking place. We can't understand the nature of the relationship or the way that this relationship may unfold in the future. More importantly, we don't know how we can change the nature of the relationship, make it better. So without process, we can only examine the people involved, their psychology, the history, their personality. Now, some of those things will help us to understand the relationship, but what about the environment that they're working in, or the culture of the institution involved, or the nature of the position which the leader holds, or the developmental level of the follower? Now, this is not to deny the need to understand the traits. Traits are a super important part of leadership. And when we can influence those traits, learning how to talk in a deep voice, for instance, can be something that will assist in the process, or being able to communicate more fluently. But these are inherently about the leader and not about the relationship. So what I'd like you to consider is that leadership is a process in which one unit adapts and influences other units so that they adapt and adopt actions towards a mutually shared vision, objective, or goal. Let me repeat that. It's a process in which one unit adapts and influences other units to adapt and adopt actions towards a mutually shared vision, objective, or goal. There's an inherent relationship here between leadership and power, because power is the ability to get others to do what you would have them do on some level. Power is the ability to influence the world around us and change it to be more to our liking. Now, a lot of people make a connection between financial wealth and the ability to reward and leadership. One of the questions we're going to have to ask is, does wealth, the ability to reward others, play a role in leadership? What about norms and rules? Different manifestations that we've discussed about strategy and power. And can you use force and still be a leader? One of the major topics we're going to have to discuss is, what's the difference between a leader and a manager? In addition to that, we're going to really need to understand how these two skills, leadership and management, kind of need to work together in order to move forward and create an environment in which the units involved are more likely to succeed. And at the end of the day, we're going to have to ask a very important question. Who says you're the leader? Where does legitimacy play a role here versus position or charisma? And this is an ethical judgment that something is right and proper, right? To say that something is legitimate. Now, good leadership suggests both ethical and effective guidance, but ethics and effectiveness are generally in the eyes of the beholder. So when we look at leadership, we have to understand which groups are involved, their doctrine, how they see the world, and then use that to examine the relationship between those who are guiding process and those who are following the leaders in this process. We'll look at this in depth as we go along. Here we go.